thousands of traders from all over the world, and they're different ages, different careers, different personalities. Some started with a few £100 and others started with a few £100,000, and a few of them started with $1 million plus. Some become consistently profitable, but most didn't. Now that's probably not a surprise because trading is quite difficult, but what surprised me was the reason that people struggled. Because when I started coaching, I thought the biggest problem would be strategy. I thought people just needed a better entry, a bit of a better indicator, a bit of a better system, and then a bit of a better discipline. But after watching the same journey play out thousands of times, I realized something quite obvious. The people who eventually become consistently profitable usually change in exactly the same ways. And the people who struggle also make the same mistakes over and over again. So in this video, I want to walk you through the biggest patterns that I've noticed coaching traders for over a decade. And if you're brand new to trading, this might save you years. If you've been trading for a while and you're still struggling, you might recognize yourself in a few of these. So let's get stuck in. So the first mistake is probably the biggest one. People start trading far too early. Now, before anyone says, well, how else do you learn? I'm not saying don't trade. I'm saying don't trade real money before you've earned the right to. Think about learning to fly. You don't spend a weekend watching YouTube videos and then climb into a passenger jet on a Monday morning. You learn, you practice, you make mistakes, you build confidence, and trading should be exactly the same. I see people opening live accounts within a week because they're excited. And then 6 months later, they tell me that trading doesn't work. The reality is, they never actually learned the skill. They skipped straight to the exam. And if you want my advice, build a strategy, test it, trade it on demo, know your numbers, and then only then start introducing real money. The second thing I see all the time is people change their strategy every time they lose or it goes for a losing streak. And this one's incredibly common. So a trader will take 5 losing trades, they'll get frustrated, and then they find another strategy and then they start again. Then another 5 trades later, changes again. Imagine joining a gym and doing 1 chest session, and then 1 leg session, and then 1 back session, and then deciding that bodybuilding doesn't work. Sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? Yet that's exactly what traders do. 1 strategy isn't enough. It has to be tested properly. 100 trades, 200 trades, maybe more depending on the system. You need enough data to know whether the strategy actually has an edge or not, because 5 trades tells you absolutely nothing. The third mistake is people become obsessed with being right. And I think school has a lot to answer for here. Remember school? You got rewarded for the right answer all the time. You got marked down for the wrong one. Well, then people come into trading carrying exactly the same mindset. Every losing trade feels like failure. So they move their stop, average into losers, refuse to close the trade, anything to avoid being wrong. I want you to write this down. A good trade doesn't always make money. A bad trade doesn't always lose money. A good trade is one where you followed your plan and that's it. Judge yourself on your behavior and not the outcome, because the outcome of 1 trade tells you very, very little. The outcome of 200 trades tells you a lot. Right, the fourth thing I've noticed is that most traders have no idea whether their strategy actually works. Now, it sounds harsh, but ask yourself this. If I asked you right now, what's the win rate of your strategy? What's the average risk to reward ratio? What's the largest losing streak you've tested? What's the expectancy? Could you answer me within a few seconds? Most people can't. Why? Because they're trading hope. They haven't got data. They're not trading data. That's why I'm always banging on about backtesting. Backtesting isn't exciting. Nobody brags about it on Instagram, but it's probably the closest thing you'll ever get to confidence in trading. Because confidence doesn't come from positive thinking or beating your chest. It comes from evidence. The fifth thing I see is people risking too much. I don't care how good your strategy is. If you're risking 5, 10, 20% on a trade, eventually the math will catch up with you. Let's keep this really, really simple. Imagine you've got a £10,000 account and you risk 10% per trade. Lose 5 trades in a row, now you're down to around £5,900. You now need roughly a 70% return just to get back to where you started. That is a horrible place to be. Now compare that with risking 1%. 5 losses, you're down about 5%. Mentally, that is much more manageable.